At 7:18 a.m., a man wearing steel-toe boots walks into a small industrial park to inspect a leaking roof. His phone buzzes. Another deposit, $23,481. He swipes the notification away without opening it because a tenant is waiting beside Unit 14, complaining about a loading dock door that won't close. 20 years earlier, he had been denied a $12,000 bank loan. Today, he could buy the entire industrial park in cash. Nobody in the parking lot knows, and that's not unusual, because some of the wealthiest people in America spend their mornings arguing with contractors, reviewing invoices, and replacing broken equipment. The public rarely sees them. It sees the people performing wealth, the watches, the cars, the vacations, the carefully edited photographs. But real wealth often grows in places so ordinary that most people walk past them without noticing: a warehouse, a storage facility, a plumbing company, a row of commercial units beside a highway. The story usually begins with frustration. You hire a contractor. He arrives late. The work is mediocre. The invoice is surprisingly high. You complain about it for 5 minutes. Then you move on. But a small number of people ask a different question. How many invoices like this does this company send every month? That question changes everything, because suddenly the expensive invoice stops looking expensive. It starts looking like revenue. You begin noticing these moments everywhere. A landscaping crew servicing 20 office buildings before noon, a septic truck working nonstop for 6 days straight, a pest control company with vans in every neighborhood. You start doing math in places where other people only spend money, and the numbers are unsettling. The average American household spends thousands of dollars every year on services they never think about twice: heating repairs, waste removal, commercial cleaning, property maintenance, essential work, unremarkable work, predictable work. And predictable work has a strange characteristic: it compounds. Your first acquisition isn't glamorous. It's a small commercial cleaning business. Annual revenue $420,000. Purchase price $185,000. The owner is retiring. The customer list includes medical offices, law firms, and two warehouses. Nothing about it sounds exciting, which is exactly why there are only three serious buyers. The first 6 months are brutal. Employees quit, equipment fails, a client threatens to leave. You spend evenings reviewing payroll spreadsheets at the kitchen table, wondering whether you've made the largest mistake of your life. Meanwhile, your former coworkers continue receiving paychecks every second Friday. Predictable, safe, simple. You envy them. Then something unexpected happens. Month 7, a deposit arrives. Then another. Then another. Not because you worked more hours, because 22 businesses quietly needed their buildings cleaned. You begin understanding something that most people never fully appreciate. The wealthiest people are rarely paid for their time. They're paid because they own problems other people repeatedly need solved. That realization creates an uncomfortable question. If your income disappeared tomorrow, what would continue paying you next month? For most people, the answer is silence. And silence can be expensive. A year later, the business looks completely different. Not from the outside. The vans are still white. The employees still arrive before sunrise. Clients still complain when a trash bin is missed. Nothing appears extraordinary. But beneath the surface, something profound has changed. The business no longer depends entirely on you. And that's the moment owners become dangerous. Because once you've experienced income arriving without directly trading hours for it, returning to the old model feels almost impossible. You begin seeing hidden systems everywhere. At lunch, you notice a self storage facility near the highway. Every unit appears occupied. You count 180 doors, average monthly rent roughly $140, occupancy above 90%. You sit in your car for 10 minutes doing calculations. The answer bothers you, not because the numbers are huge, because the opportunity had been sitting beside the road for years while you drove past it without seeing it. That's when your attention changes. A crowded parking lot no longer looks crowded, it looks valuable. A busy car wash no longer looks successful, it looks capacity constrained. An aging commercial building no longer looks neglected, it looks mismanaged. You start realizing that most fortunes aren't built by discovering something new, they're built by noticing what everyone else stops seeing. The second acquisition is a small industrial warehouse. Purchase price $940,000. Your banker is skeptical. Your friends think you've lost your mind. The roof needs repairs. 3 units are vacant. The previous owner deferred maintenance for nearly a decade. On paper, it looks terrible, but vacancy in the area is below 4%. New industrial construction has slowed. And every month, businesses continue needing storage, distribution space, and workshops. And you buy it. For the first 18 months, almost every extra dollar goes back into the property. New roof, lighting upgrades, security cameras, parking lot resurfacing. Your personal lifestyle barely changes. Same house, same car, same restaurants. People assume the business isn't performing well because your life doesn't look different. They misunderstand something fundamental. Cash flow and consumption are not the same thing. Many people increase spending the moment income rises. Owners often do the opposite because they know the difference between feeling wealthy and becoming wealthy. That difference is enormous. The average luxury SUV payment can exceed $1,200 per month. Over 15 years invested consistently, that money alone can compound into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most people don't sacrifice wealth because they make one catastrophic decision. They sacrifice it through hundreds of socially rewarded purchases: a larger home, a nicer vehicle, private memberships, upgraded vacations. Individually, each decision feels harmless. Collectively, they quietly mortgage future freedom. You notice another pattern. The people who appear richest are often carrying the heaviest financial obligations. The entrepreneur posting photographs beside exotic cars, the executive constantly upgrading homes, the business owner expanding aggressively with borrowed money. From a distance, they appear successful. Up close, many are exhausted because maintaining an image requires constant fuel. Ownership teaches a different lesson. Freedom grows fastest in lives that don't need constant maintenance. And once you understand that, impressing other people starts looking surprisingly expensive. 7 years after buying that first cleaning company, you're sitting in a conference room reviewing lease renewals. Nothing about the room suggests significance. Cheap coffee, gray carpet, fluorescent lighting, a stack of contracts. Outside the window, trucks are backing into loading bays. Inside, your property manager is explaining why insurance costs have increased another 11%. You barely hear him because your accountant has just slid a report across the table. You stare at the number longer than expected, not because it's difficult to understand, because it feels strangely disconnected from reality. Your net worth has crossed $180 million. You always imagine this moment differently. Most people do. You imagine achievement arriving with emotion, a celebration, a dramatic realization, a feeling of arrival. Instead, your first thought is that the Unit 27 still needs HEEP way before winter temperature awareness. Then thought is that one of your largest tenants has only 9 months remaining on their lease. The world doesn't pause. Nobody in the room reacts. The trucks outside continue move. Emails continue arriving. The janitor empties the trash exactly as he did yesterday, and suddenly you understand something unsettling. Money changes your options long before it changes your life. Because somewhere along the journey, your definition of wealth quietly changed. In the beginning, you wanted more money. Everyone does. You wanted security. You wanted escape. You wanted the ability to stop every time an unexpected expense appeared. But eventually, money itself becomes less interesting. Control becomes interesting. The ability to say no, the ability to ignore opportunities that don't fit, the ability to walk away from people, clients, or sit a mission that compromise your peace.
The ability to spend the 2 at noon to help your daughter move into college instead of ask permission to leave work. Freedom rarely arrives dramatic. It arrives disguised as choice, and choices compound. Then comes the part nobody warns you about: silence, not financial silence, personal silence.
Because the larger the numbers become, the fewer people you can comfortably discuss them with. You learn quickly that visible wealth changes rooms. Friends behave differently. Conversations subtly shift. Expectations appear. Requests emerge. A distant relative suddenly has an investment opportunity. An old acquaintance wants advice that eventually becomes a funding request. People rarely mean harm. Money simply changes gravity. It bends relationships around itself, so you stop talking about numbers. You become private, careful, ordinary on purpose. Some nights, that privacy feels peaceful. Other nights, it feels lonely. Because there are milestones nobody celebrates with you. No announcement, no applause. Just another quarterly report. Another quiet deposit. Another ordinary Tuesday. Years earlier, you believed wealth meant being seen. Now you understand that truly wealthy people often optimize for the opposite because attention is expensive, privacy is underrated, and freedom depends on protecting both. On your drive home, you stop at a gas station. A young man beside you is filling a brand new luxury SUV. Monthly payment, probably over $1,000. He's talking excitedly on the phone about finally looking successful. You look at your own vehicle, 12 years old, scratched bumper, coffee stain on the passenger seat. You smile. Not because you're better, because you finally understand something you spent decades learning. The people performing wealth and the people quietly building it are often playing completely different games. And most people never realize there are two games at all.